Hey there folks, it's me, Safari Sam, and today we are looking at the life cycle of the honeybee. Let's get into it. God, that's a nice opener. Really chill of B3 to finally put some fucking money into this show, eh? Alright, thank you for joining us today, everyone. We're doing something we haven't quite done today. We are talking about the life cycle of a very cool animal, the honeybee. Yes, honeybees are currently domesticated and very common. You can keep bees in your backyard if you live in a place where it's legal. Though, keep in mind, a lot of people, I want to say this first, real soon, keep honeybees because they want bees to survive. They're like, oh, the bees are all dying. If we want to save human society, we need to save the bees, which is true. When the bees die, the entire global economy collapses. Not to freak you out or anything, but honeybees aren't the bees we need to save. In fact, when you raise honeybees, you can displace the very bees that you want to save. Yeah, so keep that in mind. But we have this little set here from RealBug. It's a bunch of bee specimens in resin, and it takes you through the entire life cycle. So let's bust this puppy open. Now, the first things we have here are the eggs, the larva, and the pupa. So when they're growing inside the honeycombs, this is what their stages of life are. Now, honeybees are from the class Insecta, and the order Hymenoptera. Hymen. Thank you. Anyway, they have two pairs of wings, a large forepair and smaller hind pair when they grow into adults, with prominent antennae and yellow and black striped abdomen. They undergo a complete metamorphosis that you can see here, where they come out as a bee and grow into, I guess, a larger bee. Who the hell knows? I'm not inside the hive watching them. But they eat honey, you know, and as I said, they do undergo that complete metamorphosis, egg, larva, pupa, and then adult stage. Not all insects do this, but the praying mantis is a nymph. And a nymph is when it hatches into basically just a smaller version of the adult. And their colonies contain one queen and a fertile female. Well, the queen is the fertile female, but also many sterile female worker bees, which can't have babies, and then drone bees, which are fertile males that just spend all their time running a train on the queen. I believe what we actually have here is a worker bee and then a drone bee. And then specimen 6 up here in the corner, I believe, is actually the queen bee. Very interesting. Specimen 7 here is the foundation next to the drone cell, and also the queen cell, which is just kind of where they hang out. So what the queen does is she lays each egg into one of those, you know, hexagonal wax cells, and the egg hatches into a tiny white legless larva. The larva feeds on substances deposited in the cell by the worker bees, which they make from the pollen they gather. So it grows, transforms into a pupa in the cell, and the pupa changes into an adult bee and emerges from that cell into the hive. Now, the workers build 3 types of wax cells: the foundation cells, drone cells, and larger queen cells that I mentioned earlier. And the queen spends all her time laying eggs into these cells, up to 1,500 a day, which is an insane amount. And the eggs laid in drone cells are unfertilized and develop into males, or drones. Now, the worker bees are female bees whose reproductive organs do not function, much like mine. Also, many other tasks. They collect food from the outside hive and store it. They make the wax cells and feed the developing larva. And the tasks undertaken by a worker bee depend partly on its age, but also the immediate needs of the colony. So you can see that's, I believe, 12 here is actually some wax. And then 11 is a vial of honey. Very interesting, eh? And then that appears to be pollen, I think. Not entirely sure. It would be really nice if they gave a list saying what each thing on here was. I basically had to suss it out myself. This product really should come with a sheet saying, hey, this is what number 1 is, this is what number 2 is, this is what number 3 is. And it does come with a handy info sheet on everything. But the info sheet should tell you what's what in here, you know? Because these drones, you know, to continue on my little rant here, the drones live for about 4 to 5 weeks, and they do not work in the hive. They're fed by the workers or help themselves from the stores of pollen and nectar in the combs. Maybe that's nectar? Ooh, look at all that. Pretty cool. Check it out from the other side. Yeah, but their function's really just to bang the queen, right? Or fertilize a new queen, I should say. So in the autumn, or when the conditions are poor, they're turned out of the hive, or where they're unable to find food for themselves, and they eventually just die. Anyway, a queen bee may live from like 2 to 5 years, and except for a short period at the end of her life, when one of her daughters takes over the colony, she's the only egg-laying female. She spends all her time laying eggs. She cannot feed herself, and whenever she goes into the hive, the nearest workers turn towards her, lick her body, and feed her. But how do bees make honey? Well, the worker bees collect nectar from flowers. It's pumped up and swallowed into the honey sac, a region of the gut from which it can be regurgitated on reaching the hive. And nectar is a watery, sugary solution when connected, but it's processed by the worker bees when it is passed to them. These workers repeatedly swallow it, mix it with enzymes, and regurgitate it. And the enzyme activation and the evaporation of water results, finally, in its conversion to honey. Pretty neat. And a lot of people will tell you that the domesticated honeybee is an animal that we are being cruel to. They will tell you that these little bees fly around and they're all happy-go-lucky, and we steal the honey that they need. But here's the thing, folks, that's not actually true. As I just mentioned, these bees, they are domesticated, right? We have bred them to produce more honey than they need, so that we can harvest the honey and they still have enough to survive. Because why would we want to kill them? They make us honey. But also, honeybees will recognize their caretaker, and if you leave an empty hive next to their hive, they'll put honey in it for you. This has been observed. Bees intentionally leaving honey for humans that are good to them. That's real. That's incredible. So the honeybee just really is a magnificent animal. We do need them, just like we need the bees they displace. But if you want to save the bee population, keeping honeybees can actually hurt the bee population that needs saved. Just keep that in mind. That being said, honeybees are a natural part of the environment, and the domesticated ones are an important part of our lives as well. Just, if you want to start a colony, make sure you know all the facts first. And don't listen to whatever the fuck Peter tells ya, 'cause they're lying. Peter will say taking their honey is cruel, but they actually make far more than they need, and they actually need that honey removed because we've domesticated them. It's like sheep. Peter says, oh, it's cruel to shear sheep, they need that wool. But we've domesticated sheep, so they grow more wool than they need, and if we don't take the wool, the freaking sheep will die of a heat stroke. They'll be too hot, because they'll have too much wool. It's the same with these bees. So, that is it for the life cycle of the honeybee. If you liked this life cycle video, let me know down below and I can make more of them. I don't really see the need for me to keep these resin blocks anymore. So if you want these resin specimens for your collection or to look at under your microscope, they will be for sale, likely in B3's physical store. So you can check that out. You do get one big block, 3 small blocks, and then this info sheet, which is what we read from to get our info for this video. Not all of it, but like the basic facts are all here. The Peter stuff was all less. So that's it. Thank you all once again for your support, and I'll see you all next time. Bye for now. I actually like doing this at the desk, Jerry. It's really an upgrade. It really is actually an upgrade for the best. Better than sitting in the floor doing it on a mat. That being said, some proper lighting would be good. I mean, this is just a desk lamp turned sideways. Why the hell don't we have a ring light yet? You can afford a $100 action figure for B3 to review, but you can't get a ring light, which would also help him review action figures? It just seems like you only think about it when we're recording, and then when it comes time to get stuff, you forget about it entirely. Like, just get me the damn ring light, Jerry.